Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Brightworks, another game of Beyond All Reason. I feel like it was not too long ago before I was saying that we never really get to see pros play on this map all too often, or at least that I would sure enjoy it. And I guess, well, the bar gods have answered, and they have received my calls and have responded with this match that we're going to be taking a look at today, because we've got indeed a very, very high skill game to watch on Hot Lips Remake version 3.1.1. This is one of those maps that's seen quite a few revisions, and I'm excited to watch this game on the latest of which today. So representing our blue team and spawning here on the western side as a blue Cortex commander, going into a bot lab already, it's Zekrus, going to be holding the front lines right here. Typically this is a 8-man spot, so this is going to be an interesting one to see 6 pros playing on, although I guess 7 is probably ideal, right? Because usually, yeah, you have one player spawn here, and that's a little awkward. Usually you have a player spawn back here, obviously, but not going to be the case today. So should be interesting to see what these teams can do with a few less people. They may have less people, but still going to be overflowing APM probably more than any match that I've played in the last week or so. Now representing the red team on the other side of the map here, as a Armada commander dressed up in fire truck red, it's going to be Trash Panda. Going to be going into a bot lab, well, already into a bot lab, I should say. Getting a constructor out first, a little bit more of a greedy type of build rather than going for the ticks first, all that sort of stuff. Excuse me, getting ready to wrap up and do a big 6-hour drive, so I'm a little on the tired end, but I did want to record something. Make sure that there was some quality content to put out there on the tubes for everybody. Trash Panda not going into any of those ticks or pawns or anything like that, any of those openers. Instead, just going into full-blown constructors, economy, all that sort of stuff. Eat up all the rocks and then get into those trees and eventually chomp down everything else around the map. We have Mitbit sending a tick across here. It will find the unguarded grave robber here. Yep, immediately microed over there. Nice little catch. First catch of the game right there. Very important, though. Yeah, sending that grave robber to its, well, grave. It's an excellent opener right there. It's going to be the kind of start that we're looking for, especially if you want to deny a whole bunch of the resource, or particularly because, oh, well, okay. Mitvit sending his own Lazarus to, I guess, meet the grave robber in death. They can hold hands as they're, well, now lying in ruin right next to each other here. Both of their bodies lying on the field. I was going to say that that was the excellent kind of start that you're looking for, but losing your own immediately afterwards, definitely not going to be the biggest of plays right there. Anybody else see that? It looks like there's geothermal smoke here, as well as over here. Right? Oh, maybe not. Oh no, that was just tick debris. Oh, never mind. Yeah, that's just the debris from a tick that was blasted to pieces by a grunt over here. Boy, I am losing it, aren't I? Couple of grunts getting into battle with these pawns. Oh, that sucks. Sucks for the pawns. This is one of those things about grunts, is the fact that they just slightly outrange the pawns means that they can do this sort of kiting BS where they can walk back and forth. Oh, that little ant never saw it coming. They can walk back and forth, and if they keep just out of range of those pawns, they can be way, way more efficient than the pawns, or they can trade out way more efficiently than the pawns. It can be a real nightmare to go up against, especially if you're going up against somebody of the caliber of Ural here. 39 true skill, silver chevrons, raining in from Canada. And here to say hello, I suppose. Better strategy already with quite a few pawns down south here. An excellent little front line. Typically you want to deny the enemy from pushing into this little area, this little choke point over here, obviously, but also you want to keep this hill under control, as is exactly being highlighted now as these pawns, ticks rather, are being marched across the map right now, and we'll have to see if maybe these can get some value out. That is 9 ticks, probably enough to snipe the LLT if we dive it, but you're going to lose quite a lot of them in doing so. Yeah. I like this quite a bit more. Sending the ticks around, just trying to take the guaranteed damage rather than risking under the damage that you aren't entirely sure about. So indeed, these ticks will be able to take down a constructor, take down 3 metal extractors here. This hurts. This is definitely Mitvit's exploratory economy section over here. Both teams had one. One open economy section. For the blue team, it was Zekrus who got the economy up in the air start position there. Big engagement right there, but just a much better shape for Kevin and it's going to mean that his pawns do end up winning this fight, although on the retreat, but our strategy did manage to even things out a little bit. Still going to be, at the very least, in the favor of Kevin as far as units left goes. However, a lot of that metal is going to be available for better strategy here, so not the end of the world. Just going to recycle about a third of that metal back into units. Still not going to be the end of the day whatsoever. Grunts and Pawns continuing to duke it out. This is a really uncomfortable matchup. If I was going as Goph here, I'd probably be transitioning into vehicles as quickly as possible. Going into these bot compositions, especially against Cortex, is just so uncomfortable to me just because those pawns can't really keep up with those grunts. I see that right as they absolutely massacre the forces of Ural right here. Is Ural producing some stronger forces or just going into, okay, a little bit of economy here? Looks like they're just interested in trying to build up a little bit more of a force right now. That way they can, well, hopefully hold the line a little bit solid. More solidly? More solider? My English is breaking down, but if you'd like to watch that in slow motion, you can always hit the subscribe button and join up on the Brightworks. I do try and post Beyond Our Reason video at least one daily, as well as the live streams, which occur on Tuesdays and Saturdays. Assuming the servers are up and running. They weren't this time, which is a bit of a bummer. Oh, a nice little commander kill over here. That is going to be Trash Panda's commander going down to the commander knock over here. But the commander wreckage is basically going... Oh, okay, yeah, Carunal. You don't really have the forces for this. Oh, third commander goes down right there. Trades out for essentially the entire army of Trash Panda. And that is going to be a nice little advantage to the commanders who can afford to eat all this up. Ural gets a nice little chunk of that commander's wreckage. About half of it, give or take. A little more than half of it. Not going to be able to now, though, as the pawns for the sort of green, the Seafoam green commander, Carunal, are going to be holding the line over here. No resbots right now, though. So for the time being, these commander wreckages are up in the air. They're anybody's game. Big breakthrough of pawns over here. Looks like they just ran on by, making it well into the back line of the hot pink player. Mitvet in a whole lot of trouble right now. Has the construction turret, was trying to put up an LLT, but that's not going to come up. Wind turbines go down, metal extractors go down. That is a huge hit to the economy right now for the hot pink player, who is forced to deal with that simultaneously with a force on the front line. Excellent pressure and counter pressure right there for the blue team, making sure that on all fronts, Mitvet is completely overwhelmed. Guard over here going to try and blast away these pawns, and for what it's worth, doing an excellent job. Yeah, cleaning all the rest of those up. These pawns that were split off from the pack that were going to find their way into a constructor and take that down as well. Midvet's commander going down here to a bunch of grunts. Looks like it fought for its life desperately right there. But that is not going to matter as, yeah, that commander will no longer see the light of day. The hot pink player is down to a single constructor right now. Yeah, Midvet has a single T1 constructor. This is very, very dangerous. Immediately jumping into the chats right here while he has the APM to spare. Should probably put that constructor to work as quick as possible, getting a bot lab up if he wants to stay in this game here. That or trying to go build some metal extractors maybe, or just ask for some constructors from his fellow commander in the backline here. Polygon definitely has plenty to spare, so it could work quite a lot. Or could work out quite well if we see those indeed used as a little bit of a multiplayer building force, right? We just pass them off to whoever takes a hit. That's the kind of teamwork that can make a dream work, though. If you're having a whole bunch of constructors and you don't really need them and you can't really have an efficient use for them, but one of your teammates loses a bunch of their constructors, you can hand them on over, and then if they remember to do the same thing, you can have those be tremendously more useful across the board of the whole team as a little bit of build power, a little bit of modular build power that everybody can use and pass along, rather than just being used as essentially maybe just speeding up your labs by a little bit or something. Wolverine over here. Misrallied just a little bit. We do have a construction turret starting up by Midvet. Getting ready to get back into that. I think the bot lab is probably the right idea here. It's just the quickest, the cheapest, and that's pretty much what we're going to need here. With so little metal storage because of those mexes went down right here, lingering on 500 metal per second is not going to be very comfortable right here for the hot pink commander. Yeah, I think Zakrus knows it too and wants to push in here. Realizes that, yeah, some damage needs to happen right now or it's going to never happen. Down goes that Centurion. The last bastion in the dark here. Beamer turret starts up. That won't outrange the Wolverines, though, so eventually there's going to be well shot down. Looks like there was a bunch of gunships that were sent across, but a well-prepared red player who actually took over for a Polygon, or was it just... Yeah, oddly enough, I think a polygon must have disconnected there or something. Either way, the orange player handed over their entire facility here to Trash Panda, and all of the fighters indeed, but it does shut down that massive air engagement down south here. Better strategy also with some anti-air turrets, helping out at least as much as possible. Going to do a decent job of shutting down the aerial aggression coming over from the blue team. Not bad. The real question is, why was this base handed over? A polygon is still in the match. However, yeah, okay. A polygon handed it over. There was definitely a transition. There was a handing of the units right there. Forward facility will go down for Midvit. So this hot pink player has been eliminated from this game for quite some time. I'm not sure if the red team really acknowledged that. I think they definitely could have done a little bit better to help their teammate a little more. We do see a T2 transition underway right now from Ural. I think that's probably basically a desperation T2, and I would love to see this T1 army being eaten up, especially these aggravators that aren't getting any value right now. They certainly could get some value, don't get me wrong. They can engage against this entire T1 front, but they're going to be trading themselves out against basically an equally efficient army, so it might be better to just eat up those T1 units and spend them on a T2 laboratory. Get a couple of fiends on the front line. You only need half as many fiends in order to break the front line like that, or get some Sheldon, start building your Sheldon ball. Important to keep those alive, but it's always a transition that Cortex commanders really lean into. Those Sheldon can be downright oppressing if they are allowed to grow into numerous volleys, numerous amounts. Push forward, slowly but surely. Looks like, yeah, Trash Panda trying to encourage the teammate here to help out with whatever. Tells him to turn his construction turret to roam, which will mean that that construction turret can help teammates, apparently. I didn't even know that. Apparently that's how you get a construction turret to help your teammates automatically, even if it's, you know, not your buildings that it's helping with. You just set it on roam. Very nice. Suddenly this army is sweeping around the backhand of Ural, and we're going to see sort of a double-pronged assault here. Are we going into T2? We are. Okay, I was going to say, why does Gof not have as many units on the field? And it looks like the base, well, the majority explanation for that is basically just the fact that he's going into T2 as well. So there's sort of a ceasefire of aggression right now. Shuriken coming out, though, and they're going to shut down a whole lot of these medium tanks for the time being. They also get some of the units over here, some of those missile trucks. Commander goes down as well. Looks like the commander here for Zakruz was pushing alongside with the army. Takes out a tremendous portion of the of the force of Trash Panda, though, and it does go down. Yeah, I don't know. This is not looking good right now for the red team. Certainly, there's a lot more metal that's being pumped into the blue. This is going to take some desperate action in order to repair this match right here. Dupa trying their very best on the top. There's a whole big ball of medium tanks that's going to start pushing through, and those are going to trade out very, very effectively here. Tex being quite annoying against his aggravators. This is what I'm saying, is these aggravators continue to trade out against 2 versus 1. There's just no way that you can really take as efficient a fight as you want, and so I wouldn't wonder if, yeah, those T1 units would just be better spared rushing into that T2 lab and risking losing your front line. You essentially have the front line, so you might as well try and exaggerate that advantage by risking it for the T2. Obviously, you're putting yourself in a little bit of trouble because an overwhelming push is going to push you pretty far back, but if you know that your enemies are already mounting for a push anyways, it's the kind of desperation move that I think you sort of are forced into as a commander here before overwhelming, or before eventually you get overwhelmed and there's really no way you can climb your way back out of that hole. Nice little counter push right here, though. I have to say, those grunts doing an excellent job of pushing back a lot of these forces here. These are just missile trucks, so yeah, those grunts are more than happy to jump on top of all those, blasting them to smithereens. The riot tanks were really the most painful part, but those are now long gone. A couple of pawns, and ticks still available here for the green commander, Kevin. He's rallying them up north right now. They're being blasted apart by an LLT, though, so just sort of a miss-rally there. But the Resbot is out, and it's going to start eating up as much of this as possible. I think that Resbot is allowed to eat out from this this mineral line. This thinking of StarCraft. I was just watching a StarCraft replay recently. If that bot is allowed to eat from this metal field, rather, both start with M, right? Minerals and metal. I'm sure it'll be tremendously helpful for the red team to get back into the game here. T2 Lab up and running right now for Ural. He doesn't quite have that T2 Constructor out. Looks like the orange commander did leave the game, by the way. Meanwhile, T2 Lab is also up and running for Goph. However, we do see those T2 constructors, at least one of them already up and running, and another one's been produced and handed over to Kevin. It's going to make its way all the way down to the southern side of the map before it's effectively being used here. There's also a T2 Air Lab for the purple team, which is quite nice. So using those T2 fighters as well as the T2 Armada vehicles in general, T2 Armada air vehicles in general, yeah, it can become a very, very, well, tricky composition to beat. That air power from Armada is extremely tough. Medium tanks tired of getting shelled away at here by the Whistlers, and indeed decides, or Lashers, I suppose, decide to jump on in here. Effectively the same unit, the Whistler and the Lasher. Sometimes there's major differences between the Cortex and the Armada counterparts, but in that one case, they're pretty much identical units. There's probably a little, these probably hit a little harder or something, I'm guessing. Let's see here. Yeah, DPS of 18 versus the DPS of 19. Okay, so the Armada ones hit 1 DPS harder. There we go. Armada knew that they'd get in trouble if they just completely copied off the handbook of the Cortex, so instead they, you know, decided that they would actually make their missiles 1 millimeter bigger, do 1 DPS more. Fiends and Grunts, one of my favorite compositions. It's a extremely versatile group, and it just puts out a devastating amount of firepower, especially the fact that the units tend to encircle things just because they move a little bit different speeds. Means that you can have these really efficient engagements where you run on by and do some really tremendous damage over here. Pitbull been set up as a little bit of crowd control defense, or not crowd control, rather just a sort of straggler controlled defense, I suppose. Going to be enough to dissuade some of those medium tanks from pushing in, but this northern side is completely crumbled. That's the Maroon Commander now losing the majority of their base. They do have a bunch of forces up here on this mountain right here. It doesn't seem like they're... Oh, excellent EMP bombing. Massive EMP run right there as all of these units get EMP'd. They're going to be stunned for 5 seconds at the very minimum. Those bombers could come in for another bombing right here. I think they probably should. If they cut across the face of this one more time and manage to stun all this, it's going to be a hugely dead composition. Yeah, here they come. Here they come. Massive EMP connections right there. Shut down all of the armor. They pay for it with their lives, but I think it's going to at least mean that these green units can retreat and take an efficient counterfight. Yeah, that's a lot of T1 fighters. The T2 fighters obviously much more efficient. We know that all already, but yeah, those T2 fighters eventually going to get shot down by the T1 just by virtue of more units greater than less units. It is almost always true. A virtue of RTS gaming that is just about almost always true. We'd love to see these handed over, by the way. A whole bunch of bright red units could be handed over to dark red, making them a little bit stronger in the front lines. That being said, T2 units are out on the field here. We do have those Mauser rolling out. Very powerful. Do we have T2? We do indeed have T2 in the backline for Karunal as well. So everybody is essentially on the same page, but the blue team holding several positional advantages, and I quite like it. This metal extractor is down right here on the northern side of the map. This metal extractor is down on the southern side. It's a lot of T1 versus T1, but that Sheldon army is now starting to build right here for Zakrus. Meanwhile, Kevin also holding this entire southern line over here. It's a lot of LLTs. T2 would completely eviscerate all this, don't get me wrong. 1 or 2 Mauser picking away on all these LLTs over here would have it broken down pretty quickly. But for the time being, also this hillside being controlled by Bus Driver, all of that is adding up to a tremendous economic benefit right now. And the story is told in the top right-hand corner, where the blue team has almost double the economy in metal right now of the red. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes the best stories are the comebacks that come from tremendous economic deficits here. But I'm just saying the red team's going to really have to work for it. Oh, EMP bomber. Connects with a, well, beamer turret that was in the base over here. Bunch of fiends trying to clean up the rest of it, I suppose. Nice little EMP work right there. I suppose it opens up the gates and allows some of these grunts in. Yeah, those will be stunned for a good long while. Alright. I bet that EMP bomber must have been, or EMP bot rather, must have been, spy bot, that's the word for those. That spy bot must have been looking for a connection with some sort of a anti-nuke, I'm guessing is what they were looking for, but taking the trade wherever they could, trying to just make it a little bit more of a beneficial fight right now for the green units that were pushing in there instead. Yeah, Sheldon's starting to shell away, and it's really difficult to deal with those. Here's some Mauser, though, and they're ready to start breaking this line up on this hill. The bots are able to run on up this hill and then down on the other side, whereas the vehicles are going to be locked in place on this side of it. So these pawns are going to try and overwhelm the Mauser over here. It's going to be a matter of whether those Mauser can catch enough of them. Not in retreat, they're not going to. Centurion are being pulled over here. It's actually quite a lot of Centurion. We do have 5 of them. I feel like Centurion have become more and more powerful recently. I've seen more and more Centurion play, and I'm pretty happy about it. They were definitely an underappreciated unit. Whether that was warranted or not is still up to debate, and I'm not entirely convinced, I would say. Sometimes it felt like they were extremely powerful, and other times it felt like they fell very flat on their own faces. Made for a bit of an interesting tactical decision. Do you use this unit that is ridiculously adorable, completely round, but maybe not the most efficient, or do you go for something that maybe is a little better, but not so round? The Sumo struggles from the same option, except that it's way better, so definitely not as hard of a choice. Tons of HP, extremely round, adorable, and yeah, it can put out quite a lot of damage. Ha ha ha, yeah, we can resign, says the yellow player as they meet the first Razorback of the game. Trash Panda does have a commander on the line over here, so if it manages to move forward and de-gun down that Razorback, it could save the day here, but I think that's just about the only efficient way the red team is going to get out of this one. This one, excuse me, I'm dying here. Oh boy. I was a little bit sick before, so I'm wondering if maybe that has something to do with it as well. The trigger is pulled right here, and the red forces collide with the Razorback. Man, that T3 just burned so badly. There goes the Razorback, cleaving through all that T1 as if it was nothing. Fighters flying on ahead as well, very cinematic. Making sure to have a, you know, an effective cinematic use of units here. Oh, but it looks like the top 3 players from the red team have already resigned at this point. Yeah, it looks like that's going to be yellow and red. Both tap out of the game alongside orange. And it seems like they've decided that this is not a battle worth fighting. Bus Driver got their T3 up and running, and I think the red team has, the rest of the red team has followed suit here. Not a lot they can do about those Razorbacks. There's just not enough commanders, and they're not in the right spot. Those Razorbacks are eventually going to tear through the entire side and claim victory for the blue team here. Tremendous game from the blue team, managing to eke out every little victory that they could across the map, pushing all their different fronts, and eventually securing the W and putting it up on the board. Thanks a ton for watching. I sure hope you enjoyed, and there will be more daily Beyond Our Reason videos. I've asked once, but I'll ask again. You can always hit that subscribe button down below to join up on the Brightworks, and I'm sure you'll have a lovely time doing it. There's plenty of fun folk that hang around in our community. I feel tremendously privileged to have such an awesome community of people that support me and all the Beyond All Reason content that I put out. So anyways, enough tooting my own horn, so to speak. I sure hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the very next Beyond All Reason video. Peace out, folks.